Get these toxins, these things that don't belong in the body, out of the body. And that is everything that I do. And it's everything that I wrote about in this book. And it is spirulina and chlorella. It is raw fruits and vegetables. It is the far infrared sauna. It is exercise. It is the positive mental attitude that you need to get the toxic thoughts out of your body. And then, of course, it's ionized water. One of the most important and one of the best ways you'll ever get toxins out of your body. So I always want to put those things into perspective. What toxins are out there? What is toxic? What isn't? They'll do the same thing about plastic. People will get very crazy about what they're drinking their water out of. It should only be glass. They want to be a purist about it. And once again, toxins are everywhere. But if we're putting the right things into our body, raw fruits and vegetables, and if we're using, some of the other things I just talked about, we can always remove those toxins from our body and be healthy, always. And it doesn't really matter how bad the environment is. We always want to live in a clean environment, but there's never a point where we can get to where we can't remove these toxins that we need to get out of our bodies. So that's the first thing. The next thing is purified water. Stay away from purified water. That's reverse osmosis or distilled water. That's what you're going to see the most out there. It's everywhere in every vending machine. Aquafina has gotten that stuff out there. The reason the pop companies love it is because soft drinks are made with purified water, so it's very easy for them to run their line and fill up their bottles with purified water, reverse osmosis in that case, and then finish that off and then run the Pepsi line or the Coke line or whatever. So they're already set up to run purified water, and it is very, very dangerous water. And as a matter of fact, it is the exact opposite of ionized water in every way. And to get a little bit deeper into this, I'll tell you exactly why each attribute of this water compared to purified water, that's distilled and reverse osmosis, are exactly the opposite from one another, and you should never consume purified water. And I am a lone wolf out there saying that, because there's not too many of us out there telling people not to drink distilled or reverse osmosis, and that includes all the naturals. I will tell you right now, I have changed some minds out there, and I mean some big names have really taken a look because they were promoting distilled water as the water. I said, why do you promote it? Well, it's pure. Well, so it sounds good, it's pure. Well, I'll tell you, you don't find pure things in nature. What you find in nature is things that always, if something's very hot, you mix something you want to mix with something cold. If something's in one way an extreme, it always wants to meld or balance itself. Nature always looks to balance itself. So you don't find purified water in nature. And rainwater is not at all like purified water. For one thing, rainwater will crystallize into what we call snow, and purified water will not do that. Purified water turns into a block and has no crystalline structure to it. So, what kind of water should we drink? Spring water, really well filtered tap water, or the best water you'll ever see is ionized water. You can take distilled water and remineralize it, put some minerals in it, some calcium, magnesium, something like that, and then get it back so it's drinkable again. But other than that, if it's in its pure state, please take my advice, don't drink it. Now, somebody walked into my store. His name is Don Strayer. I dedicated this book to him. This is my latest book, and you're hearing about it and seeing it for the first time. I'm hoping to have that out in October, and it's called The Miraculous Properties of Ionized Water, because it is miraculous what happens with ionization, and it's the definitive guide to the world's healthiest substance. The reason I named it that, as I said, it is incredibly miraculous what happens with ionized water, number one. And it is the world's healthiest substance. There's nothing better for the body than water. And as I said, the healthiest thing we can ever do is fast. And there is no better water than ionized water. Because what happens when you do this is really some incredible, substantial things that change regular water, common, pedestrian, everyday water, into really the healthiest substance you can possibly put into your body. And I have been selling these now for 10 years. You can come by the Watershed, I sell it by the gallon. And I am once again a lone wolf out there, you know, crying in the desert, in the wilderness about ionized water. I am still pretty much scoffed at. I am ridiculed. People do think I promote ionized water because I sell the units. And I finally want to, with this book, my latest book, to put all that down to rest and not back off from what I've been saying for the last 10 years, but to say I'm going forward and yeah, I'm making a complete declaration. This is the world's healthiest substance. This is the best water you can put into your body, and everyone should have one of these in their home. These water ionizers, and let's just say the ionization of water was developed in Russia as far back, what I can tell, back around the beginning of the 20th century, in the 1900s. It was further developed again in the 30s, 40s, and it looks like they did quite a bit of research with it back in the late 60s. And it was primarily to see if it would take radiation out of the body. Well, ionized water is very effective at taking radiation out of the body. No other water can make that claim. But ionized water can remove radiation very, very well. The reason the Russians wanted to know about it because they had so many nuclear accidents that they never told us about, including a nuclear bomb going off in Russia that we were never allowed to know about. And there were a lot of people that were very, very contaminated. This is before Chernobyl. They were very contaminated with radiation. They were trying to find ways to remove from the body. And ionized water, they suspected, and had good reasons to suspect it, drinking ionized water would remove radiation from the body. So that's why they developed it. A Japanese doctor saw the technology, got a hold of it in the mid-1980s, and began to make the first residential units. They sold for over $5,000. And that was the beginning of the domestication of the water ionizer. By the 1990s, it became very, very popular in Japan. And a lot of the other Asian countries were beginning to take notice and began to, they were also beginning to consume it. Some companies in other Asian countries began to produce the machines as well. And it was kind of taking on a life of its own at that point. I was first introduced to it again about 10 years ago. A guy walked in my store and said, "You ever heard of ionized water?" I'm a very open-minded person. People come to me all the time, and this is what bothers me about ionized water. Most of the detractors and the debunkers of ionized water have never tried it. They have never purchased a water ionizer. They never have drank a gallon of ionized water. They're sitting in academia, they're chemistry professors or something. They don't need to try it, and you can call them up. I've authored them. Maybe I can send you a copy of my book. No, this is fiction, and